everyone, Anna Hammonds here with the Unite Ellis podcast. This month is April and it's Stress Awareness Month. And so we are going to talk about stress, how to deal with it. We're talking with the fabulous Angela Christine. And we're going to talk all things of how to deal with all the stuff we have going on in our lives. So let's get started. Angela, thanks for coming. Let's get started. Just tell us a little bit about you and kind of your background.
My name is Angela Christine. First of all, most importantly, I am a mom of 3 amazing boys. That's my primary job, my favorite job. I've been in the mental health field for several years now. Dropout counselor wasn't for me, but went back to school for my master's as an adult and discovered the mental health world after being in ministry for about 18 years. So I work for Dallas Behavioral Hospital. I'm the director of business development and love my job. It keeps me in the community a lot, which is where you and I met. Was it 3 years ago?
Yes.
It was 3 years ago.
Probably so.
Yeah, it's 3 years ago. We went to your one of your offices here at the smoothie shop.
Yes, it was, the coffee shop.
Yes,
I do.
And we met and talked about kind of bringing people together. I was hoping to network for mental health resources and agencies, and you were already putting this together with Unite Ellis. So we talked about putting the mental health sector together, and it would just kind of blew up from there.
Yes.
So here we are.
It's been so good because for those that don't know, you serve with 2 others, Janice and Caitlin.
Yes.
For our mental health team, and it's just bringing so many people around the community together, and it's just such a fun team to work with.
It really is.
And we wear bright colors.
Yeah, and I do concede the victory to the pink today. Yes, I tried. I had a little bit, but I just knew I was going to give it to you anyways because you are always the brightest and the hattiest.
The hattiest.
Yeah.
Yes, that's great. It's been really good just working with y'all on the mental health team. Everybody's so fantastic there. So, but I want to make sure you finish anything else of your background.
Okay, so one very important part about me. Okay, so at the end of high school, so I'm a senior right now.
Okay.
He's 18. Yes, I'm a mess.
Yeah,
I'm a mess.
I'm almost there. Yeah.
It's rough, but he's going to Baylor, so we're okay. Just a little ways down the street. But when I was a senior, they had and I don't know if they still do this, but they had the whole most likely to. Okay, so I'd always hoped, to be most likely to be a millionaire or most likely to be the president or something.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't happen for me. Didn't happen. I was most likely to be the Energizer Bunny.
Oh, yes, that's great. So you run at that level.
I get, I've carried that through adulthood, which is another part of my story. Speaking of Stress Awareness Month, it really plays into how I deal with stress, just as with my personality, because I run at a 10, whereas most people can kind of manage a 5.
Right.
I have to bring myself down to a 5, and so April is also my birthday month.
Okay.
Just saying.
I love that you have the whole month.
I have an Amazon shopping list I can send you. It's like my wish list. Has lots of hats in it.
Good,
Just saying.
Good.
But it really kind of brings the whole year for me back to kind of navigate where I've been and where I've come and where I want to go. So we'll kind of talk about that.
Yeah, I do want to dig into that more because I feel like our culture, maybe in a culture of success, it kind of applauds running at that high level. And I can go towards that as well. Like I have to work really hard to not just always, be going. So I definitely want to break that down more. Okay, so let's get back into your role into mental health. So dive a little bit more into that. What draws you to that? Why is that your go-to field to work in?
Yeah. So like I said, I was in ministry for about 18 years. And I really felt like there was such a gap in the church for what we understood about where we could take the person next. Right. We could pray with them, we could teach them scripture, but to be able to take the next step towards getting mentally well, it was something that the church just wasn't doing well. And so I went back for my master's after my youngest went to preschool, and they had a counseling program. So I started studying counseling, and I absolutely love the connection between that and ministry and what we were doing. And so that's kind of what led me into counseling. Didn't go the counseling route. I got a job in the business side of mental health, and just really, really love navigating kind of the mental health world at the macro level.
Yes, yeah, and I love when you're talking about the spiritual side and kind of the faith side, and then the mental health side. I love that you're bringing that together, because I think sometimes people want to split it, especially when you get into medical, clinical, psychiatry level, like medication, that, sometimes they can't put those two things together. If I were enough of a believer, if I could, or if I were better, like I've heard those things. I've even, thought of myself sometimes of like, I'm tight with the Lord, like, why would I be struggling?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I feel like there's this gap. I don't know, it's just me, like, people don't want to go there sometimes. So talk about the other side as if it's a reflection on our faith or something.
Right. And I think we try to get there ourselves.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I feel like we are slaves to productivity. Productivity.
Oh, yeah.
We have our checklist, and I'm a checklist person. Don't get me wrong. I love me a checklist. I'll actually go back and make a checklist that I've already done.
So you can cross it
and
off.
just cross it off.
Yes.
So satisfying.
What I did today.
Yes.
8 o'clock, remember? You just
check. Yes. But we're list makers. We want to check the boxes. We want to be the best moms that we can. We want to be the best professionals that we can. And we believe to do that, we have to check off so many things. We have to accomplish everything. We have to have our hands in PTO and church and volunteering and community work and our kids. And then our lives become so jam-packed. We just eventually just explode.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to your point with the medication, had a dear friend of mine struggle recently with a very, very serious anxiety kind of a challenge that she hadn't dealt with in her life. And she has kids, and it put her out for about a month. She couldn't leave her house. She couldn't do anything. And she had prayed through it. She had prayed. She talked to her husband about it. And finally she went to a doctor and got some medication. And within 7 days, she was back on her feet. And it was temporary. Like she can wean off of that and get back. But for that season in her life, she needed it. And I think for a lot of people, they think this is just how it's going to be. I'm going to have to take medication the rest of my life, which isn't necessarily the case.
Right. That's really good. I wanted to go back to the list because I do love it so much. But my own list loving has evolved over time too, because I know at the beginning it would have been making a list in order to look at all that I've done. Now it's more of a way to get all that's in my mind. That's like bing, 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 bing.
Yes.
And I'm like, I have to write it down.
Right.
And then I've gotten more, and we talk more about this later, but I've gotten more into time blocking.
Yeah.
That is the way my mind, I have to get it out, and so I have to put it down on the list. That way it can kind of calm my brain.
Right.
Because if not, I'm like, okay, don't forget to do this. Well, if I write it down, I won't forget it because it's right there, So.
Right.
Anyways,
right.
I do love my list. Though.
Yes. Yeah. I'm the same. I have several apps.
Yeah.
For those lists.
Yes. Yeah. Then that can be overwhelming in itself. But anyways, I'll do one more app and then they'll help me. But, okay, so let's go back to kind of your health journey side of things.
Yeah.
I want to drill down there. So tell us about that.
Last summer in July, I think the year before that had probably been the most stressful point in my life.
Okay.
So, they talk about the 5 big stressors of life. I didn't have a baby. That was the one I didn't experience. I did get a kitten, but that was actually a good thing. So I lost my job. Suddenly, I was fired from my job, and from a job that I absolutely was so passionate about, and never thought I would lose it. Never thought I could lose it. So, that brought a lot of self-worth questions to me. I'm a single mom, so I didn't have, what was I going to fall onto at that point? I had to sell my house because I lost my job. The home that I had kept for my boys struggled with for the last 5 years.
Right.
And we had to buy a smaller house.
Which the moving is one of the main, is one on the list of the huge stressors. Yeah.
Yes. So moving out of the house and then moving into a house. So those two had been through some relationship struggles, And I just, in July, I feel like the entire last year just kind of collapsed. And so did my health. And at the end of July, in the beginning of August, within a week, I suffered 3 heart attacks. And I'm 42 years old. The first one, it's kind of funny. I can laugh about it now.
Crazy.
But I go back, and the first one they had misdiagnosed at the hospital. They said it was a panic attack.
Okay.
So I was seeing a therapist at the time, and I went back to her and said, I had a panic attack. I've never had a panic attack before.
Yeah.
They had to put me in an ambulance. My kids had to send me to the hospital, and it was a whole thing. And so I go to my counselor, talk to her, and she's like, okay, the good thing about panic attacks is what? You can breathe through them.
Okay.
So that was on a Saturday night.
Okay.
Tuesday, I was at soccer practice with my youngest. It's about 110 degrees in August because we're in Texas. And I'm sitting in the heat watching us practice, and we get up and we get everything together, and I bend over, and I feel the same sensations. My chest, my shoulders, my arms. And immediately I know it's happening again.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I can breathe through this.
Oh.
So I take my 12-year-old to the car, and I sit there, and he's looking at me.
Probably,
And he sits beside me in the car. I have Eric billing, and I'm like, Dash, I just need to stop for a minute. I'm having another panic attack, but I'm going to breathe through it. So I sit there probably for a good 10 minutes trying to breathe through what we ended up finding out was a heart attack. And my 12-year-old son, I was texting my therapist, and she's like, you're doing good. I said, this is not working.
Yeah.
And she said, call 911. So I give the phone to my son because I can't breathe. I can't talk. I give the phone to my son, and he's on the phone with dispatch, my 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And
so cool that he was there, but I'm sure it was
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had to wait down the fire truck to get out of the car, bring him to his mom. They put me in the ambulance, lights and sirens to Mansfield.
So dramatic.
So dramatic.
Yeah. That's not helping, but yeah, it's great.
So he's in the front seat. And they ended up taking me to Mansfield and tell me, they're putting things in my son's sitting there just terrified. And take me back and find out that it truly was another heart attack. Had another one 3 days later.
Were you in the hospital then?
No, I had gone back home and had a third one. And I told them the third time, I was like, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah, we need to stop this.
So what I learned about that is I'm a healthy person.
Yeah, I want to pause right there for a second because all of us, that were keeping tabs on you during this time, we were like, what? I mean, it was so shocking. I know that you're healthy, you work out regularly. I would have thought, even your age, I would have thought you would be the last possible person to have anything like that. And so then I'm like, oh man, what am I going down? It was a wake-up call for, I'm sure you, but for even those of us around, just going, whoa.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Right.
You just don't hear of that.
You don't, and that's what I was sitting there as they're rolling me back to do an angiogram, and I'm like, I'm 42. I'm not having a heart attack. You're wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm arguing with the doctor because that's what we do, right? I'm not having to. I am healthy. I work out. I take care of myself. He's not listening, obviously. So they roll me back anyways. But later on, after they did the test, he said he diagnosed me with a SCAD heart attack. A SCAD heart attack is when you have a bruise on your artery and it constricts the blood flow to your heart.
Right.
So what happens to cause that is chronic stress.
The bruise.
Yeah. So over the last year, kind of what I had determined was everything that I'd gone through, my body said, no more. No more. I had had so much stress in my life. I couldn't understand why me, why not somebody else that had more stress. And the only answer I got was it was just the way my body handled stress.
Yeah.
So over the next couple of months after that, I was on the couch for a month. And if you know anything about me, which I know you do, Anna, I am by nature an excitable person, okay? I don't think that comes to shock anyone about me, that I live. Every day is a new day. Every day is exciting. I love life. I don't get down very easily. I'm a happy person. We go through rough times, but I always have this this hope about my life that it's always going to get better. So I had to sit on my couch for an entire month. And you remember, I couldn't even have conversations at that time.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So it's like, I don't think I would do well with this at all. Like, sit on the couch, don't get excited, keep your heartbeat low. Like, I don't, and then like the mental health side of that, I wouldn't do well with that at all.
Yeah, and I didn't at first. It was very, very challenging for me.
Yeah.
But what I learned, because what happened to these cats, I had 3 within a week, and they said, if you don't control your stress, if you don't make life changes, basically my life was at stake. Stress could kill me. And so for me, it was a matter of, okay, I've got to get this under control.
Yeah.
I have 3 boys who I've got to take care of, that I'm responsible for. I can't lose my health.
Yeah.
That is what I have. So that was in August. And ever since then, I feel like I've just been on a journey to understanding how to recognize when my body is stressed and how to kind of keep that under wraps. And it's been a life change.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to come back to that part, but finish the 1 month. So you were chill for a month, and then did the doctor ease you back in? Like, how did you get back to regular life, whatever that would look like?
So I was off work for 2 weeks, and then I kind of gradually got back into work. But after a month, I was able to go to cardiac rehab. So it was actually with all the other heart attack patients, I was the youngest one.
What are you doing?
They didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
They did not know what to do with me. But I was in there with, the very first thing I could do was the hand peddler.
Yeah.
You've seen that
Yeah.
at the rehab places. And I would go 3 times a week, and they just progressively, because I think the scariest part for me was, am I going to get to work out again? Am I going to get to go back to work? I mean, what I do is present and talk to people. It's my own life. Did I lose my entire life and what brings joy to me after this? That was scary.
Yeah. So they were putting physical stress on your heart to see what it could control.
Yeah,
I had handle.
Yes.
And then
Sensors all over me, and of course I'm one to definitely push the limits for sure. Oh yeah. I'd be watching the nurse I'm gonna see when she's gonna shut me down.
They're like, you need to chill out here.
And they would. They're like, okay, Angela, slow down, take a deep breath.
You're racing the
absolutely
patient next to you.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. We were racing. Yes.
That's great.
But it was definitely a humbling experience to go through that.
Okay, so they got you back to being released. So then you mentioned you had to learn the signals and the signs, and so what does that look like? When is it that you're like, okay, that's a sign, I need to do what?
Right.
So what are the signs and what's your response?
So I'm actually doing it right now. So I'm excited talking to you because you're pretty awesome. But I can feel my body tense up. So my shoulders are tight. I'm elevated. My speech is louder.
Yeah.
And for me, this is all it takes.
And you're good.
And I'm okay.
Okay.
But to bring your body out of that stress response.
Yeah.
And that's what I didn't understand was stress can be good stress.
Yeah.
It can also be bad stress.
Right.
But even being passionate about something,
Yes.
your body goes into this kind of fight or flight type state. And it's in constant just readiness.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I really so a couple of things about that is the fact that you're even aware. And again, stress gets such a bad wrap, that it's like there are good things,
Yes.
even just getting excited in a conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're being mindful of all what your body's doing, mentally, your heart rate, all that kind of stuff, which I think I'd be really just easily fly through the day and not even stop long enough to like even notice that. So I'm sure that's a habit that you have to like work into.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely, because I would just push through it.
Yeah.
And that's actually something that I was studying. I made a few notes. I was reading about some healthier habits that you incorporate into your life. And a few things that I've incorporated is pushing through that exhaustion. So you're a mom. What we are used to is being completely exhausted, but knowing what we have to do and just pushing through that.
Yeah.
You know that feeling?
Oh, yeah. Daily.
Yes. Yeah. We're high-performing women, right? We want to get things done. We want to do hard things. But sometimes those hard things are what is going to take us to the next step of unhealthiness in our mind, in our body.
Yeah.
And we have to know when to stop.
Okay, so give me an example though. So you're in your day and the exhaustion's coming instead of the natural like built-in reaction I might have, like, all right, just charge through.
Right.
And then do what?
After the heart attack, I to acknowledge this control that I need to have and the stress that it was causing in my life. I wanted to work through that. And so I started a 12-step program with Celebrate Recovery at an Avenue Church. And which has just been amazing. But so it's Wednesday nights are my Celebrate Recovery. And so I'd gotten home and I was just completely exhausted, wiped out. And my mind was telling me to push through the exhaustion. Go to 12 steps. You were committed to it. You signed up for it. That's what we're supposed to do. Right? So, but I listened to my body, and this is what I finally learned is even though that would have been good for me to go to that, it would have been better to rest. Let myself heal. Let my mind rest. Let my body recover from the day. And then restart the next day. I didn't miss anything. The sky didn't fall.
Right.
I have serious FOMO. I want to be, I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss a joke. I don't want to miss an opportunity.
Not only the FOMO, but then going back to what you were saying earlier of like, I committed to this. I don't want them to, I don't want to upset someone that I didn't show up or whatever. Or even if you're a people pleaser, I had to recover from that on myself of working out of the expectations of others.
Yes.
They expect me to, so therefore I will, even though I don't want to. My counselor literally one time said, hey, you can say no, right? Like, you know how to say no. Like, you don't want to go. There's not like a major reason for you to go. Just say no. I was like, I needed someone to tell me that. And that was years ago. But so I think, and then if you add the FOMO on top of it, it's like it's hitting you from every angle. So you decided to stay home, chill, recuperate, and that was your way of not pushing through it. Yeah, that's really good.
And it's hard because we do have those expectations on ourselves that we don't want to let people down.
Right.
But I took the night off. It was going to be a good thing to go, but it was a better thing for me to rest.
Right.
So, in just moments throughout the day, I know some days even though I still have work to do, I have to stop at 2:30 or 3 o'clock. And I still get some work done, but I have to isolate myself and bring myself away from everybody else. And which is not natural for me to do because I'm a people person. I want to be around people, but it is something that I have to force myself to find peace in the calm. And I think more than anything else, these last 7 or 8 months, for me to find that need for calm and that appreciation for peace. I remember in the month of August and September, I would just sit on my couch, no TV, nothing was happening. The dog and cat were just sitting there on the couch with me, and I could hear the wind chimes outside of my window. And I found such an anticipation now for that quiet and that calm. I've never had that kind of appreciation for that before.
I am with you on that. Like, right now, we're in the season of Texas where actually feels good outside. Like,
So
little
nice.
birds chirps. I don't know, all of a sudden I'm into gardening. I don't know what that's about. I really love watering my plants and talking to my plants, like
Water
and,
mine,
and,
please.
from a Jesus perspective, part of me is like the Lord created this atmosphere and this environment for a reason, and it's really good to be in it. But okay, so other things that you implemented. So not pushing through the exhaustion. What else?
On top of that, I think it kind of goes on the same lines of that is just ignoring those signs your body is giving you. And one thing that has always been a part of my life is exercise and nutrition. Now, don't get me wrong, I love to eat, especially queso. That's a whole love language. I don't know if anybody else agrees in here, but
chips, queso, and salsa.
Yes.
That's my
yes, and then afterwards brownies. But that's But my birthday is coming up. I love crumble cookie. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Just
all right.
drop that right
Yeah,
here.
just gonna put that there. So exercise has always been a part of my life, but I think that I've abused my body to the point that it wasn't doing me any good. And so another thing that I've learned is exercise is amazing for you, but it can be abusive to you as well. The overuse of cardio. I don't know if you've ever been a runner or sorry.
You're not.
Wrong person. All right. But there's these people that run and they get this thing called runner's high.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the concept, you're saying, there's a level where it's kind of going a little.
It's going too far, and you're abusing your body by using all of that energy that you have no energy for anything else. So it actually burns through some of that muscle and can be unhealthy. And I think, I'm about to turn 43, so I think at our age as women, we kind of have to switch over a little bit.
Yeah.
And I used to work out an hour of weights, an hour of cardio every single day. And now I do 30 minutes of weight, 30 minutes of cardio every single day. Yeah. And it's just gotten me to a place that I don't abuse my body. I'm not, I guess you could say you're kind of, not disciplining, you're punishing. So I don't punish my body with exercise anymore. I don't punish myself for the chips and queso and brownies. I enjoy the chips and queso and brownies, to a healthy, manageable amount. Yeah. But I use that exercise to fuel my body and to make me stronger. Yeah. And so it's been a balance for me with exercise too.
And you're just monitoring, when do you know when it's too far? Or you're just monitoring how your body's responding to the putting too much on your working out. And of course, I'm sure some of it also is how well you're feeling with your food too.
Absolutely.
Because I know when I've gotten I've never had the problem of being too worky outy, but but when I have gotten into I will be it will be like a checklist for me again. Right. Well, if I didn't go 5 days this week, I'm frustrated with myself. Yeah. And then I may even withhold from the healthy food or the food to fuel you. Right. In order to really get a big bang for your buck. And our bodies aren't, maybe we're way younger, but our bodies aren't set up that way anymore.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, absolutely. And I was under fueling my body as I was recovering, and there were days that I had to really adjust and make sure that I was fueling my body so that I could heal. Yeah. So
okay. All right. What else was on your list of things you've learned in the last 9 months as far as
So I'm just gonna read this one because I got this when I was in recovery at the rehab, and it's from the American Heart Association, heart.org. And I think we could probably put a link up to it because it's really helpful. I put it up at work. I put it in our newsletter at work for our employees. It's just stress less with healthy habits. So the list is slow down, sleep well, let worry go. This is one of my favorites, laugh it up, because we know laugh is healing. Get connected, find friends, find people, get organized, practice giving back, being active every day, giving up bad habits, and learn, lean into things that you can change. And I'm going to add one to this. One thing that I've discovered is just the kind of the therapeutic creativity. Do you ever experience that in your life? Is it music or art or,
absolutely.
It's through plants. I don't know. Therapeutic.
Yeah, I'm a music person for sure.
Music. Yeah. So I think that taking time for those things is kind of a bucket list of mine. I used to play piano, and I don't anymore. So I picked up piano again. I picked up painting again. I'm doing things that I enjoy, that put my mind in a calm, but also creative space.
Yeah, and I'm no brain scientist, but I feel like there are times that I can, it's good for me to switch to a different part of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So if I play the piano as well, or if I'm listening to music, or even, just listening to an audiobook, like one that's just like a novel or something.
Yes, yeah.
It just makes me kind of just switch into a different gear where it's like taking all the static away for that moment, and it's really been nice for me to get into that mode.
And don't you notice a difference when you're listening to something that you need to really focus on, like a self-help book?
Yes.
I'm reading the book Let Them, which is an amazing book, but I want to take notes constantly.
Right. That's not it.
That's something you have to
your
focus on.
Your brain's engaged.
It's engaged. So there's something about like just a brain-numbing book,
right? A
story or a novel.
Absolutely.
Or something.
There's a difference.
Yeah,
for sure.
Really different.
Yeah. Okay, I love all this. Let's talk about. You mentioned a friend earlier.
Yeah.
What are your tips for us of when we do have someone in our circles that might be struggling or whatever? What would you tell us to do with a friend in these cases?
Yeah, I think we all know someone in our life that is touched with a mental health challenge. And it's very important to use that language, challenge, because we're all challenged at some point in our lives with mental health, whether it's depression or anxiety. We're going to be affected by it.
Right.
So I have a lot of people that will ask me for resources, or Angela, I don't know what to do here.
Right.
I don't know where to send them. So a couple of years back, I discovered something called Mental Health First Aid.
Okay.
And it's a course that I was able to take and learn about just as a community person, as a professional, as a mom, as a friend, how to be able to respond to someone that is struggling with a mental health challenge or is truly in a mental health crisis. Mm-hmm. So I actually got certified to teach this class, and it just gives you really hands-on practical skills to sit with that person, actively engage with them, and help them to open up and talk about what's going on.
Yeah, that's so good. One thing to point out that stands out to me is having a safe space to be able to share those things. I know you mentioned CR. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people have to warm up, and I get that. But the more real and transparent and authentic we are, I feel like that will create that space for others to be like, man, I'm really struggling. And I'm so anti, like, put the mask on, and I'm fine.
Yes.
It just doesn't help. It's not good for me. It's not good for you.
Right.
The more I put my mask on, the more you may want to put your mask on. We're not real and authentic. So I think that's really important. And this brings to mind a story that I'm sure you'll remember, but you and I were at an event in Dallas, and a woman comes up to me. It was so crazy. She literally comes up to me, tears in her eyes, and is like, and I don't really know why she came up to me, other than I know she knew I was connected to Ellis County, and I think she maybe lived in like the north part of Ellis County.
They had just introduced you.
That's right.
And that you were doing the mental health. You were doing
that's what it was.
#filter-free.
Yes, that's what it was.
They were talking about that.
She comes up to me, eyes totally filled with tears, and she said, I almost didn't come this morning because last night I was thinking about taking my life. Yeah. And of course, I was like kicking it into the mental health training of like, okay, listen, and luckily you were there. I pull you in and we're talking to her. But at that moment, like she just needed to talk.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it was received that we would be safe people to share that with. And she just cried. Yeah. And it was so humbling for me and kind of a blessing to me to even be that 10 minutes of her life, to let that out. And I don't know if we did much of anything other than just listen, help connect her to some, resources or whatever, but you just never know what people are carrying when you're just going through everyday life. Whatever someone's dealing with, like we can't make assumptions.
Right.
So back on mental health, the mental health first aid. So this is an actual training that people can go through. Mm-hmm. Who would you recommend would go through this actual training?
Honestly, I would recommend that anybody who is interested in supporting someone through a mental health struggle or challenge or crisis, it touches everyone.
Yeah.
I think for professionals who
Yeah.
have employees
Yeah.
or teachers who have students, there's actually a program that teaches kids how to respond in a mental health crisis,
Yeah.
and how to offer that support.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the lady that we had met, and I remember that story and how powerful that was, because it was just before that I had taught the mental health
Yeah.
first aid training,
Yeah.
and it was so fresh on our minds. We're like, okay, we know the 5 steps,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
algae steps,
Yes.
and I wanted to go through that because I don't think you realize how powerful that moment was, because
Yes.
I can identify the 5 steps at every single stage. So assess for risk of suicide. We asked her, are
Right
you
now, are
you thinking
Yeah.
about suicide?
Yeah.
And she wasn't sure.
Right.
She wasn't sure. She said she had.
Yeah.
So number 2, listen non-judgmentally. The week before, I think she lost her husband.
Yes.
Her husband
Yes,
passed
she
away.
was literally like a week
Yeah.
off of like her husband suddenly.
Right. And so opening up that space
Yeah.
and just listening to her.
Right.
I think one of my favorite quotes is listening. You probably remember this because I've said it a few times. Listening is so close to love
Yes.
that for some people, it's almost indistinguishable.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's just, it's so powerful to be heard.
Right.
It is so powerful.
Yeah.
So for us to open up that time, that's the second step. Number 3, give reassurance and information.
Yeah.
You're gonna get through it.
Yes.
And I'm gonna be here with you.
Right.
You can't promise that she's gonna be okay, but you can promise that she's gonna get through this.
Right.
And that you're gonna be there with her. The 4th step is encourage the person to seek professional help.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if you remember, I don't know if you remember, there was a psychologist that
She
was
like
just
right there.
right beside
You're
us.
like, yoink.
Yes.
You're going to come into this with us.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she started doing this somatic therapy with her.
Yeah.
She started, like, I think just rubbing her shoulders, and you could see the stress.
Yes.
Just her entire body was able to probably calm down for the first time in months.
Yeah.
It was so extremely powerful. So
was-
we reached out to somebody else
Yes.
that we couldn't do what she
Right.
did.
Yeah. And I think that's the other kicker there, because in my mind, I immediately was like, oh, I'm not equipped for this.
Right.
But then I'm like, okay, just do what I can do.
Yes.
Bring in.
Yeah.
They're going to, like, they can do their lanes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was a really interesting group thing we
Yes.
had going on at the end of it. And I mean, it was a really beautiful thing. Like,
Yeah.
all the angles that were coming in, it was
And then the 5th part of that is encourage self-help and other strategies. So we know we were going to be leaving her at some point. And so to leave her with some strategies and some help that she could move forward. And I remember we checked in on her. And this is the great thing about bringing it back to Unite and how we're helping people to thrive. Because not only in the moment did we open that space for
Right.
her to share, we gave her resources for jobs. And I think a food
Housing.
pantry and
She
housing.
was
Just
very
like,
housing.
yes.
And then
So-
relationally as well,
Mhm.
because she knew someone, I think through her church or whatever. So then making sure her community was around her
Right.
in that time, and that neither of us felt like we had to be all those things to her.
Exactly.
So again, I think sometimes we need to take that stress off, because it's like we feel like we need to fix this person and do all of it for them. It's like, no, if we can just bring all the pieces together and allow them to go kind of through the process, like, it can be good, but that doesn't have to be me. That doesn't have to be you. That can be a multi-factor. So.
Exactly. And that's a very healthy way to offer an assistance. So
Right.
I believe in mental health first aid. There is a website that you can go to if anybody listening would like to get certified. It's through the mental health first aid website, so they can click and sign up. We're always offering trainings here in Ellis County. If someone may have a group of people they want to do it with their church.
Yeah.
Say you have a
That's right.
church group, leaders in your church or youth group, a school, first responders, professionals, anybody that wants to maybe do a group at their location, train a group of people with mental health first aid, we can get that.
And it's free.
And it's free.
Yeah.
The best number, my
And
favorite number.
Anyone that interacts with people, it
Yes.
sounds like it's the qualifying factor.
Absolutely. That's it. That's it. Yes, if you're human and you see other humans.
You breathe. This is for you. So
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
you just so much for the authentic conversation today and for telling your story. Like, I feel like there's so many good things that have already come out of it. You know, you're not even a full year after that. So I know good things are still going to continue coming from that. But we will pin all the resources with this video. And we'll see you next month, Ellis County. Watch your stress, watch your breathing, and encourage those around you. So y'all have a great week.